When Breaking Bad wrapped up, the idea of a spinoff, well, it seemed pretty questionable, right? Especially one about the sleazy comic relief lawyer. And yet, Better Call Saul didn't just step out of that massive shadow, it went on to build a legacy that was entirely its own. So let's get into it.
So, yeah, that's the big question we're going to tackle. How in the world did this show, a show about Saul Goodman, defy every single expectation to become an absolute masterpiece? Well, it's a story about incredible craftsmanship, about character depth you wouldn't believe, and a really profound understanding of what makes us human. And hey, it's not just me saying this. The critics were absolutely floored. The Guardian even called it more profound and beautiful than Breaking Bad itself. I mean, that is some serious praise for a show that, honestly, on paper, had no business being that good. To really get why this show is a work of genius, you have to understand just how unlikely its success was from the jump. Let's take a look at why this whole thing should have just been a fun little footnote, not a landmark in television history. I mean, think back for a second to the guy we knew, Saul Goodman from Breaking Bad. He was a punchline, a fast-talking caricature, the criminal lawyer you call when you've hit rock bottom. But then we meet Jimmy McGill, this struggling, complicated, and yeah, deeply tragic guy just trying to outrun his own worst instincts. The difference is just staggering. And what's crazy is that even the creators, Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould, didn't see what they had at first. Their original pitch? A half-hour comedy. Seriously? Something more like a quirky sitcom than the sprawling, heartbreaking tragedy it became. This show's incredible evolution was anything but planned. Okay, so how on earth did they pull it off? Well, it all started by taking that caricature of a character and just digging deep, asking this really fundamental question about who we are. And it really boils down to this classic debate, nature versus nurture. Are we who we are because we're born that way? Or do our experiences, does the world around us shape us into who we become? Now, Breaking Bad made a really strong case for nature with Walter White. But Better Call Saul? It took the exact opposite road. And this is the absolute key to the whole show. Jimmy McGill's story is a tragedy of nurture. He wasn't born bad. He was conditioned to be. From a con man telling him the world is just wolves and sheep, to his own brother Chuck, who never ever let him forget he was just Slippin' Jimmy. That brutal line from Chuck wasn't just an insult. It became a self-fulfilling prophecy that Jimmy fought against until he just couldn't fight anymore. Of course, none of this works without Bob Odenkirk's performance, which is just a masterclass. It's all in the little things. His hands are always moving, like a magician's, directing your attention, selling the con. You see that painful gulp when he's hurt, literally swallowing his feelings like they're shards of glass. And his eyes tell the whole story, that constant war between the lie he's spinning and the truth he's trying to hide. But it wasn't just the acting. This brilliant character study was lifted up by absolutely world-class filmmaking and writing. Seriously, this show was a complete work of art from top to bottom. I mean, the way this show was shot, it was just breathtaking, so patient, so deliberate. This quote here really nails it. The camera would just sit and wait, finding this incredible beauty in the most mundane things. A dollar bill stuck to a cactus, the way light hits a wall. It had the confidence to just be slow, to let the images tell you everything you needed to know. And you can see that confidence in how they deliberately changed the look from Breaking Bad. They went from that gritty, shaky, handheld film style to this perfectly composed, almost painterly digital look. It wasn't about action anymore. It was contemplative, because the real drama was all happening inside Jimmy's head. And behind all that visual poetry was this just unbelievably meticulous writing process. The writers famously planned out every single beat on these little index cards. But here's the secret sauce. They always let the characters drive the story, not the other way around. If it didn't feel true to who the character was, they wouldn't do it. And that's why that famous slow burn pace never feels boring. It feels earned. And all this careful, character-driven work, it all served this one giant, central theme that the show explored with absolutely devastating results: the inescapable weight of our choices. For so long, Jimmy and Kim's schemes felt kind of fun, right? Like a game. And then, bam. One moment. One single, horrifying, unforeseen consequence that made it crystal clear the game was over. Some choices put you on a road you can never, ever get off of. And really, Mike Ehrmantraut said it best, didn't he? These words basically sum up the entire show. It's all about how these tiny choices, these little compromises, they set you on a path. And before you know it, you're so far down that road that there's just no turning back. So where does this all lead? Well, it leads to one of the most powerful and frankly, perfect endings in TV history. An ending that provides this profound counterpoint to the way Breaking Bad concluded. First, let's just rewind for a second. Think about how Breaking Bad ended. Walter White goes out in a blaze of glory, finally admitting that his whole evil empire was about one thing, his ego. He died to protect his legacy. It was all about pride. Now contrast that with Jimmy. He's got the deal of a lifetime, 7 years. Easy, but he throws it all away. In that courtroom, he stands up and confesses to everything, not for pride, but for love. He does it to save Kim and to finally take responsibility, to kill Saul Goodman so Jimmy McGill could live again. And that's it, right there. That's the whole ballgame. Walter White chose his empire over his soul and died a king on a throne of ashes. Jimmy McGill chose his soul over his freedom, choosing to live, even behind bars, as an honest man. It was an act of atonement, not ego. In the end, that's the real question Better Call Saul leaves us with. It's this powerful final chapter to the whole Breaking Bad saga, and it slips the entire script, shifting the focus from the hunger for power to the search for redemption. And in doing so, it asks every one of us a very simple question. What truly matters?